should say the Ukrainians and Zelensky specifically deny, saying that he heard it first from Putin. That was pretty remarkable to hear.
Yes, it was notable, to say the least. It's been a busy day. Thank you, Elena Triin, for your great reporting throughout. Really appreciate it. Well, let's discuss more now with Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. She sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And Congresswoman, just to start off, based on what we know so far about today's meeting between the Israeli Prime Minister and President Trump, what's your level of optimism that the second phase of the ceasefire deal could come into effect sometime soon?
Well, Phil, good to be with you. I want to say that I'm pleased that the president met with Prime Minister Netanyahu today and yesterday with the president of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky. This is important work to be done. So I'm glad that the White House and the administration is focused on these things. My optimism in terms of Mr. Netanyahu and moving into phase two, you should know that I, along with about 90 other members of Congress, late October, early November, wrote a letter to the president urging him to stay focused on the 20-point peace plan for Gaza, for Israel, and for the whole region. And in that letter, we did say, number one, Hamas must disarm and return the hostages. As you know, and as was reported, the one remaining hostage, the family of that hostage is in Mar-a-Lago tonight. I'm very glad about that. I hope that his remains, or he, if he is still living, will be returned. But what I am gravely concerned about is how Mr. Trump doesn't seem to stay focused long enough on what is going on. The second point of our letter was to make sure that he holds Mr. Netanyahu and the Israeli coalition to the returning of all of the humanitarian aid that is necessary, and of course, the rebuilding of Gaza. Those things are not happening in the speed and with the required elements that need to take place. So I'm worried about it. I think we all see Mr. Trump through a lens now that we've gotten used to. We've gotten used to his lies and misstatements, saying that Biden got no hostages home, for example. We've seen that Mr. Trump needs so much for flattery. And of course, Mr. Netanyahu arrived today with yet another prize like FIFA. And then what is very worrisome to me is Mr. Trump's misunderstanding of who is what international law really requires. So those things are worrisome to me, but I'm very pleased that the president has met with both of these leaders who are in grave conflicts.
Yeah, it's certainly credit for staying on these very, very critical issues late in the year. I know this has been a huge focus of the administration in both of these conflicts throughout the course of the year. I think the question, which I think you're alluding to, is the ability to actually follow through to whatever the outcome is expected to be or whatever the aspired outcome would be. And that includes on the Russia and Ukraine war. Critics arguing that the president has really kind of tried to browbeat Ukraine, President Zelensky, into a peace deal that involves huge concessions, even though it's obviously the victim of an unprovoked invasion. The war has been going on for nearly 4 years now. Do you think Ukraine should be compromising when it comes to land issues like that at this point?
Again, I'm just pleased that they are talking. It is critically important that they are talking. As a member of Foreign Affairs, I had the great honor of traveling to Kyiv and meeting with the president there during this war. I want nothing more than for peace in Ukraine. Do you know, does the world know that more civilians have died in 2025 in Ukraine than in the years previous? As you said, February 24th will mark 4 years. And worrisome to me is that, well, these two phone calls, the sandwich phone calls of before and after meeting with President Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago, speaking to Mr. Putin, Mr. Trump doesn't seem to focus on who's the aggressor here. Again, international law demands that the aggressor be held to account, that the truth be told for all of history, and that Russia pay for its crimes, including the returning of the children. So I'm gravely concerned about that. But I think Mr. Zelensky is quite wise, and we've seen it. And I'm pleased that the president praised his bravery and the bravery of his country. I got to see it up close and personal when I visited there.
Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Phil.
Well, up ahead, new details about British